Under the Lights, episode 20. Here we go. I'm Kyle Parmley, joined by Gary Lloyd today. Gary, we finally got some high school football games to talk about. What was it like being back on the sideline on Friday night?
It wasn't okay. It wasn't as hot as we all feared it would be. I don't know if that's just the location I happened to be at out at Briarwood Christian or what. I mean, it was warm, but it wasn't like so sweltering that I felt like awful.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe the two liquid IVs I put in my waters before the game helped, but other than the heat, which to me wasn't as bad, it was fun, you know. It was just getting on that bike and riding it again. So a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, I sweated a ton Thursday and Friday night, but um, made sure I drank enough water, feeling good afterwards. So, um, game time temperatures for this upcoming week, I think, are probably in the low to mid 80s, which is a quite a relief. Feels like a cold wave. But all right, we got games to talk about from last week. We're going to start with the Thursday night showdown. Vestavia Hills took a visit to Mountain Brook, and man, the Rebels look good. They beat Mountain Brook 35-10. Looked like Vestavia Hills just picked up right where they left off last year, especially offensively. Quarterback John Paul Head doing his dual threat thing. Over 100 yards rushing, over 100 yards passing, and the Rebels cruise. Um, Man, that was a tough start to the year for last year's 6A runner-up Mountain Brook. Just man, they could not get anything going. Couldn't take advantage of opportunities, I should say. Running back Cole Gamble had such a great year last year. He went over 200 yards in this game, and Mountain Brook still only scored 10 points. So it was kind of funny talking to head coach Chris Yeager after the game. He kind of had a smile on his face because he kind of is like, I know what the reaction to this game is going to be, and people are going to go ahead and write us off right from the jump. And he seems to relish that position because he knows that the Spartans are better than what they put on the field. Look, first time quarterback in John Cooper getting his first start. A lot of guys, especially, it felt like offensively, just did not play to their potential. And that Rebels offense is really, really good. So, great start for Vestavia Hills. We all know about Jordan Ross, the defensive lineman, committed to Tennessee last week. He had a surprise appearance on offense. Um, he caught a touchdown pass in the end zone from John Paul Head that was just kind of, we're all watching the game, and all of a sudden you look up and this guy is leaping so high that you can almost see him from head to toe over the defensive back, and it's like, oh wow, that was Jordan Ross making a touchdown catch. He and his head coach Robert Evans hinted that we may see a little bit of that throughout the year. Um, but Gary, Vestavia looked pretty good, I got to tell you.
Yeah, I saw a couple angles of that touchdown, like a little fade toe tap kind of thing. I mean, he looked like a legit receiver or like a tight end slash receiver, a little bit of Kyle Pitts or something like that in him. But that was impressive. But I'm curious from you, since you were there. Uh, I mean, you told me, Cole Gamble goes for over 200, and a Vestavia defense that was replacing what, nine starters holds them to 10 points. Did Vestavia have a lot to do with that, or was Mountain Brook just sort of out of sync? I mean, to go over 200 yards and only come away with 10 points was kind of a confusing dual stat line there.
Sure. Yeah, Robert Evans called it a leaky performance by the defense, but it was a lot of bend but don't break. They gave up some big runs, but Mountain Brook missed a field goal. They held Mountain Brook to a field goal another time. There were a couple turnovers, so just a lot of, Vestavia's defense kind of made some plays when it needed to, but otherwise, Mountain Brook, they were able to run the ball at times, but they could never get anything going through the air and just really struggled to put drives together otherwise.
Gotcha. I bet they'll be just fine as the season goes along.
Mountain Brook's going to get better. Don't you worry. Let's flip ahead, Gary. Talk about the game you were at on Friday. Like you said, you were out at Briarwood. Clay Chalkville, the preseason number 2 team in Class 6A, dominates the Lions 31-0. Clay's got a little bit of a different look at quarterback. That defense looked nasty. Really good start for the Cougars.
Yeah, defense looked nasty. Fast. physical, just honestly a typical Clay Chalkville defense. Offensively, like I mean, there were flashes, right? Like Jalen Mbakwe throws a touchdown pass, I think 17, 18-yard touchdown pass. Looked good. He's a southpaw. Uh, he looked good. He was efficient, but they didn't empty the playbook, And game one, there were also some miscues. Head coach Drew Gilmer talked about that after. We got some things we need to clean up. But you saw flashes all throughout the game of that big time playmaking ability on offense that we're accustomed to seeing from Clay Chalkville. Mario Craver didn't really do much. He fumbled at one point. He might have only caught, I don't remember exactly, he might have only caught two passes in the game. But you saw those flashes where, Mbakwe takes off for a 20 some odd yard touchdown run down the side. Torres Chambers gets in. Pinson Valley transfer gets into the end zone. Aaron Osley is a really good running back as well. So it seems like they're going to be pretty balanced. We talk about Mbakwe like we have in the past as a receiver. We talk about Mario Craver, another big time receiver. But those two running backs behind that offensive line, I think you're going to see a lot of balance from Clay Chalkville this year. But I think you're also going to see a lot of games where they're scoring a lot more than 31 points. So on the flip side of that, for Briarwood, Matthew Forrester, head coach, was proud of the defense. He said for a while we were pretty lights out on defense, and going against an offense like that with a bunch of new guys, they were impressive, and you could tell they were mad at the way that they didn't win really, but you could tell that there was a lot of fight there, determination just right off the bat. Like you're going to be overmatched. You're playing a superior opponent, and they were mad if they gave up a certain yardage on a play or missed a certain assignment, that kind of thing. Offensively, there's probably a lot of work to do. Clay Chalkville had a lot to do with that, but a lot of negative plays. They only had 35, 40 total yards for the game when you include sacks and things like that. So, they're rolling out two quarterbacks in Josh Thompson and Will Clark. When Will Clark isn't dropping back to throw the ball, like he might be back there in the backfield as the running back. So, but both of those guys, good athletes, and I think Briarwood is also a team that as we go throughout the year, I think you're going to see continuous improvement week to week, more experience, an offensive line that will continue to gel and do a little bit better than they did against Clay Chalkville. So I don't know how many positives necessarily you pull from it just from an X's and O's type standpoint, but I think Matthew Forrester likes his guys and really likes the mindset of this team. You could really feel that even late in the fourth quarter Friday night. So I think a lot of positives to look forward to for this team.
Top five matchup in Class 7A. Central Phoenix City downs Hewitt-Trussville 48-24. At times the game was closer than that, and at times it wasn't. Hewitt-Trussville had three opportunities in the first half on offense where they got inside the 30-yard line and only came away with 3 total points. You got to come up with more than that. Josh Floyd, head coach after the game, said, "Got to score touchdowns in the red zone," and that's true. There was a controversial play in the middle of the game that Floyd thought changed the tide in the third quarter. There was an intentional grounding call by Central's quarterback. It looked like he was in the end zone. He was in the end zone when he threw the ball. Probably should have been a safety. It wasn't. Huskies defense gives up a couple big plays right after that. Central scores a touchdown and kind of got away from the Huskies at that point. Let me tell you something. If you don't know Cam Coleman, Central wide receiver, that dude is the real deal. 5-star receiver from Central, committed to Texas A&M. If he ends up going to A&M, he will make an impact there. I feel pretty confident of that. Guy's really good, but just a tough start for the Huskies.
Yeah. Did they? I mean, what was kind of the deal for Hewitt, like defensively? Like like I mean, top five matchup. It could have gone either way, but like I personally expected a stronger start at home against such a quality opponent in Central, and to see that they gave up 48 was just kind of, not necessarily surprised that they lost because it is such a close matchup, top five kind of game, both quality programs. But to give up a 48 spot and lose by 3 touchdowns was shocking to me.
It got away from him at the end. Big
It
plays.
was.
I mean, like if you look at it on both sides of the ball, Hewitt Truss was missing their top lineman. Cade Martin on the offensive side of the ball, he's out. Tyrell Averhart, their top
Uh,
defensive lineman, he's out. So I know the Huskies will
wow.
be greatly looking forward to get both of them back, but that hurt them. And then once it got late in the fourth quarter, the game was over, and Central hit a couple more big plays to kind of stretch it. So
Yeah. Well,
tough start for the Huskies, but they'll have an opportunity to stem the tide for sure.
yeah, and the lucky thing is, these aren't region games.
Yeah.
These are barometer games. These are, first games of the year, and you learn a little bit about your guys and what they're made of and that kind of thing. So, all preparation for those 7 region games that you get.
Most shocking result on Friday night has to be John Carroll beating Homewood 36-31. What a win for the Cavs. Quarterback Carson McFadden, I thought really burst onto the scene last year. Just had a few incredible games for John Carroll. Has another one against Homewood. John Carroll, they got the lead early and just kind of hung on to it, and then had to really hang on late. Defense comes up with a couple big plays. That's the first time the Cavs have beat Homewood in a long time. So big win for that program and head coach Will Mara.
Yeah, I think it was like 1999 or something like that. Now they don't play every year, even though they're close together. But I think it was like 1999 or so was the last time they beat them. But you're right. Like we know some of the struggles John Carroll's had in the last decade or so. Like I kind of wonder if this is, they haven't won a playoff game since 2009. So I kind of wonder if this is like the biggest win for this program in since then, or just at least in the last 6, 7, 8 years, something like that. So just a really big shot in the arm right off the bat, and you kind of hope for a program like that that's searching for that to get back into the playoffs again. You really hope you take a lot from that mentally, and hey, remember we can do this. When it's tough in region play against a Pleasant Grove or a Ramsey or whoever else, hopefully they'll be able to dig deep and remember that they took out a 6A opponent in Homewood, and really had to hold on at the end, and just a big win for Will Mara and in that program.
Now, yeah, like you said, first win over Homewood since 1999. John Carroll has not been to the playoffs since 2009. They last won a playoff game in 2004. So, success has been a long time coming for the Cavs. We'll see if they can sustain that. A few more games from last week to hit. Helena beats Chelsea. Helena hangs 50 on Chelsea, and kind of tough start for the Hornets there. Another top 5 7A matchup in addition to Hewitt and Central. Auburn beats Hoover 39-14. Just got away from Hoover late. Oak Mountain opens up the Shane McComb era with a 38-30 win over Northridge. The game was not that close. Oak Mountain dominated Northridge for the most part. Great start for them. And then Spain Park, 55-0 over Calera. Look, Calera's had a tough offseason. Coaching changed just like a month ago. But anytime Spain Park can win 55-0, that's great for them. So that was a statement for them to start the year, no matter who it was against. All right, we are going to be joined by John Carroll head coach Will Mara and his quarterback Carson McFadden. Let's jump right into that. All right, Under the Lights podcast, we have our first guest of the high school football season. We are joined today by John Carroll Catholic High School football coach Will Mara, along with quarterback Carson McFadden. Guys, coming off a huge win to open the season, the Battle of Lakeshore goes to the Cavs this year. John Carroll's first win over Homewood since 1999. Coach, just tell us a little bit about the night and what you saw from your guys in the lead up during the game, and what it meant to be able to pull that one out against your local rival. It was literally on the other side of the trees over at the
Yeah.
high school.
Yeah. I mean, our boys came out with a lot of energy, and it's more energy than I've ever seen at a John Carroll football game. I mean, just starting with the warm ups, and you could feel that there was something different in the air. It really started back late, I guess, when last season ended. This group of seniors, I mean, they decided that they wanted to change the whole trajectory of this program. They didn't want to go through what they went through last year, and one of our big themes was 1% of the plays that we ran last year, offense, defense, special teams. That where do we find a way to win those 1%? Because if you go back and look, and we can change those, our season's completely different. So we had to find those in the offseason. And this senior class, and led by Carson and a lot of the other seniors, I mean, they got to it. I mean, once last season ended, and it's been hard work ever since then. It's definitely been they've set a different tone than what we've had in the past, and leading up into Friday night, I mean, they've been hungry to practice. They've been hungry to hold each other accountable, to be at practice, and I mean, they were 100% the change. And we've talked about our Cav way and our character building program, but they led it. They kind of they took it, they made it their own, and they took off with it, and all of that ended up coming together on Friday night. And I mean, they played a full football game. They never took any plays off. It was full team effort. There were things that didn't go our way. I mean, the opening kickoff they brought back to the 10-yard line, and of course everybody's kind of thinking, here we go again. But I mean, they scored, and then we responded, and were able to score in 2 plays, and that was Mitchell Nutter, who's I mean, he dedicated himself to be a better running back and to kind of learn the skills of a running back. He came over here last year from Spain Park, and he was a quarterback from Spain Park and transferred in, and we had to move him around a little bit into that running back slot. So there was kind of learning on the job last year, but this offseason, I mean, he was really committed to being the best running back that he could be. And so it was fun to see that pay off for him as well. It was fun to see it pay off for all of these boys in general. I mean, they have worked so hard. They've had great attitudes, and just for it all to come together. I mean, I was speechless for them. I was emotional for them. I'm just so happy for them and proud of them.
What was that post game bath? Was it water? Was it Gatorade? What was it?
It was cold.
It was water.
Yeah, it must have been. Yeah, it was water, and I think that was the first time that it had covered my whole entire body. It
a
did
heck
not
of a
miss
night
any
for it.
parts. Absolutely,
We were trying to avoid the reporter. I think it was
Lloyd.
Lloyd.
Yeah, Lloyd was there.
Yeah.
His
got the
phone,
phone
his
a little
notepad,
bit.
it got soaked.
No doubt. Yeah. Well, Carson, tell me about the emotions of that game, because especially in the first half, tons of big plays on both sides. But then in the second half, that game, it kind of crunched down a little bit, and both teams put together some long drives. And then y'all's defense made a couple stands at the end. Just tell me what it was like, the highs and the lows of that football game.
I mean, it was awesome being able to hit people that isn't your team.
Yeah.
Because we've been waiting all summer. And I mean, definitely the defense saved us big time on the goal line twice. And that was huge. And I mean, it was just great to see it all come together.
Absolutely. Now, Carson, you had several really big games last year. So tell me a little bit about, Coach talked about the off season, the summer, the grind that you guys had dedicated yourselves to make, this season a little bit more satisfying, because, Coach comes in, you guys have a couple of 5-5 years, but then last year it kind of slid back a little bit. So tell me about the summer and just kind of what you guys were determined to see happen.
I mean, I think honestly the commitment level was just different. I mean, everybody was bought in, and that's what makes the biggest difference. If everybody believes that you can win, you can do anything.
And I'm going to brag on Carson for a minute, because I know he won't when it comes to this. From the time last season ended, and Carson was about he was about 175 last year, maybe down to 170 at times. And he's a ball player, and he'd like to make plays and get out of the pocket. And he was even asking for some called run plays. And I mean, we need to get a little weight on every single day for the offseason. And I mean, every single day, Monday through Friday. There were even some Saturdays, but Monday through Friday, he was up here at 5:30 in the morning. And we didn't have morning where we had afternoon workouts. We've got 8th period athletics. So we already had workouts planned for the day. And he was up here every single morning at 5:30. And then he would bring a couple of his buddies with him. And then it grew, and it ended up being 15, 20 guys here at 5:30 in the morning, having to get the maintenance man to open the gate, or having to make sure that we had a key to open the gate. There were times where he's jumping in windows because I was 5 minutes late, and he had the workout time. He was up here doing a Murph on Monday, and I mean, had kids just gassed. So I mean, he transformed his body. That's what last year he was at 170. Now he's moving around at 190, and that was part of. I mean, that's part of our game plan. Is he's got to be able to run the ball. He's got to be able to extend plays, and he's got to be able to take care of his body. And like I said, he just transformed his body. I mean, whole nutrition program for him. He went into injury prevention, stretching, all different types of stuff. It was impressive to watch this young man work this offseason. And naturally, others on the team started following.
What is part of that nutrition? What does that look like for you, Carson?
I was just, so it started, I was like, I knew I wanted to put on weight. So I did some research on like what the macros would look like. And I was just trying to get, I think it was 4,200 calories with a certain amount of protein. I was just had to hit that mark every day.
Man, what were you eating the most of?
Steak, definitely steak. Yes, sir.
Man, that sounds nice. Now, Coach, give me a little bit of the, this isn't just any win for John Carroll. I mean, you're a John Carroll lifer. You played in this program. You've been an assistant in this program. You've done everything. You've coached middle school. You've done it all. And to be a few years into being the head coach of this program, what does it mean? I mean, there's no like ill will at Homewood or anything, but they're the school right down the road that in a lot of ways you compare yourselves to. So what does it mean for this program to be able to notch a win like that?
I think it means a ton, and it's very, very humbling to see the attention that it's gotten, and it was definitely a move in the right direction. And a lot of credit goes to them. I mean, I know they've got a young team. They're doing some rebuilding, and they played their butts off, and they made some of the best adjustments at halftime, and they've got an amazing coaching staff over there, Coach Bergeson and both of his coordinators. I mean, they truly are an amazing football program. And there's been a lot of hard work that's gone in for these boys over the past 6 years. Had a lot of them in 7th grade, and then moved up with them their freshman year. That was 2020 when I was hired on full time. And so we've been together for a while, and for them to see kind of the process to be cliche, but for everything to kind of fall in place was huge. And that was something that we were worried about coming in. Was they've bought into everything that we've been preaching. And it was, I mean, the character development, just every aspect of what we're teaching, both in and outside of football. And of course, there's that little bit of something in the back of your head, like, okay, well, what if they don't understand, and what if they don't see the result they're looking for? Because you don't want them to be disappointed. You don't want them to think, well, what did we do all this work for? All this extra time that we put in? And so that's what I think means the most, is that they were able to see the results. And you never want to be results driven. You want to be driven by the process, and fall in love with the process, fall in love with the weight room, fall in love with the hills and all of that. That's what we were trying to preach. But for them to be able to kind of see all of their hard work pay off, that's really what the the biggest thing I took from it. And to kind of see the excitement around John Carroll now, and that's fun. But I will say that our boys, it was 24 hours, and they were looking forward to Marbury. And I mean, they were disappointed yesterday that we're having to come off the field for weather and lightning at practice. And they dove into the film room. We go into the film room, and they start asking questions. They already watched the Homewood film, and they're starting to make their own corrections. And we asked them, what do you think some things that we need to correct? And boom, every single position group had something that they wanted to work on, and we hadn't even watched film with them yet. And then they already had a breakdown of what they think Marbury does. So it was impressive to watch that. And instead of having the attitude, oh, well, come on, coach, we beat home. Like, come on, like, well, why are you getting on me? It was very coachable. They were very receptive to just everything moving forward, and they're still hungry. And I think with all of that combined, I think it was just a huge experience for everybody involved.
For both of you, how do you sustain that throughout the season, especially as region play approaches here pretty soon?
I really just think it's about how bad you want it. Like, you're not going to be complacent with just like one win in the beginning of the season, and that doesn't even count towards playoffs. So that's one of our big goals. We want to make playoffs. It's been how many years since? It's been a while.
Long time.
And we really want to make it to playoffs. So we know that's our goal, and we know we got to win some more games to do that. So
as we've talked about, like during the summer, we won like one of the divisions of the Sanford 7-on-7 at a different 7-on-7. We beat one of our big rivals, and the kind of the message there was, if we're talking about 7-on-7 at our end of the season banquet, and at least we won this tournament, or at least we beat this team, then that's not a successful season. And that's kind of the attitude that we're trying to keep with this is, yeah, it's great and that's excellent, but if this is what we're putting up at the end of season banquet, and well, hey, at least we beat Homewood, at least we had fun game one, then it's a disappointing season. And that's and I know we've talked about it before with the 5-and-5s, and yeah, that was great when it happened, and to finally kind of get out of that rut of sometimes not being competitive, and to be able to be competitive and to get on the other side of a losing season or whatever you may say. We want 5-and-5 to be a mediocre year, and of course every school wants 5-and-5 to be a mediocre year. So we were happy with that, and we're happy that we found some success week one. But if we're talking about that at the end of the season, then hey, well, look, we made we were on a podcast week one. Like if that's the what we're, I guess, hanging our hat on, then we know we'll be disappointed, and we hope that it is seen as disappointed.
Coach, something I wanted to ask you, because I haven't really got to visit with you yet since you've been hired, but Kyle kind of alluded to your track record at John Carroll, playing there, graduating there, how involved you've been since graduating there. Is legacy a big thing for you, and if so, why?
I wouldn't necessarily say legacy, or if that's kind of what I'll leave behind. I know how special John Carroll was to me and my brothers, and my dad went to John Carroll, graduated back in the 80s. I'm the oldest of four, and I know what John Carroll meant to me, and I know what John Carroll's meant to a lot of people. I mean, it's a special place because it's very diverse. I grew up and lived in Helena. My parents still live in Helena. I was at Helena High School, went around in 2011. I was zoned for Pelham. Grew up in the Helena youth ballpark. So that's who all my buddies and friends were growing up. But I went to one of our John Carroll feeder schools, Our Lady of the Valley, on 119. And then coming here, you've got to meet new people. You've got to learn how to work as a team of people that you didn't necessarily grow up with, or even from your same part of town. And you learn how to, I'm trying to figure out how to put this, but you learn how to grow up, and it puts teenagers during those years of their lives where they're maturing. where you have to learn how to treat people that aren't exactly like you and don't come from the same background as you do. And I know at some of the other schools that there's definitely different backgrounds, but I mean, one example that really sticks out to me is my time at John Carroll. We had a kid that lived in, I think it was Greystone. His dad like owned the Yellow Pages, had private jet, private helicopter, and there was also a kid that was from Birmingham, and he played football because he wanted to be able to have running water and take a shower. They were best friends. Those two were best friends, and looking at them, you would never know anything about the other one other than those two are best buddies. And so that's what I love about John Carroll. That's why I love it. I want what's best for John Carroll, and that's more than just football. I coached softball for 10 years too. I did bowling for 3 or 4 years. So I love it. I want what's best because it's a special place to me. It's been a special place to my family, and it's been a special place to a lot of people that I know, and I want to give that same experience to the ones that are coming through.
Does that resonate with you some, Carson? Have you felt that in your time at John Carroll?
I mean, I just know that he's not here because he wants to obviously he wants to win football games, but he cares more about like impacting the kids. And same with a lot of our coaches. Like a lot of our coaches don't even get paid to be here. They just want to have an impact on the kids, and it's pretty awesome.
So we've got it's about 17 coaches on staff from 7th grade through 12th, and by staff I mean working with the football team. Only 3 of us work full time at the school, so all the rest of them have full time jobs. They, everything from being the CEO of a pharmaceutical company to, Coach Seidenfaden, he does facial reconstruction for maxillofacial patients at UAB. So they all are completely different, but the one common thing is they love just pouring into these young people's lives, and football. We see football as the outdoor classroom, and we want to take that champion. You got to learn. You learn so many lessons in football. I mean, it's just that's why we love it. That's why these guys are in it. And these aren't just any regular old guys. They all have football experience. I think 90% of them have played in college or coached at the college level at some point. I'm definitely blessed to be surrounded by so many men as I've been growing in my career as a coach, but to be surrounded by these men that have poured into me and also poured into these student athletes as they're coming up. And we 100% could not do any of it without their support, some of them adjust their schedules going to work at 3 a.m. so that they can be here for 3:30 practice. And then sometimes they even go back to work after we get done with practice, and all day their phones are available. I mean, if we need to call or whatever it may be, they're hopping on it and ready to go. So we're definitely blessed to have that in a coaching staff.
Yeah. So Carson, back to the football field. I remember watching some of that Marbury game last year and kind of realizing at that point, I was like, hey, John Carroll's got a quarterback with a lot of potential, and a lot of you guys are making plays in that game. But it would seem to me that if there's ever a game that, coaches 1% of those plays mantra sticks, it's definitely that Marbury game. So, tell me about the focus of this team going back to playing a team that you felt like you should have beat last year, and knowing that, we're coming off a really high mountain here, and we've got to somehow refocus for this team that we're about to play.
We know we can't just come into this game thinking like, oh, we beat Homewood this year, like we can win this game. I mean, last year, I think we saw that they got beat by Elmore County, and they got beat by them this year too. And we were like, okay, this we can win this game, and we ended up losing with the last second field goal. That one definitely hurt, and so we want this game pretty bad. It's definitely hitting close to home because last year that was definitely should have been a win. So
Now,
looking
Carson, what
forward
all
to
do
it.
you play at John Carroll? What all sports?
Well, I've mixed it up a little bit over the 4 years that I've been here, but right now, or last year, I did football, indoor track, and then outdoor track and golf. But I might be playing baseball this year. I'm not completely sure, but I think I'm definitely sticking with indoor track in the winter. But
He's played
baseball.
basketball too.
Basketball. And I played tennis at one point too. but I don't know.
So
I think it might be a baseball year this year. A lot of majority of the football team plays baseball, and it would be cool to have a fun senior year and go do something in baseball.
On the football field, like, do you have a guy like at the college or pro level that you model your game after, a guy that you like to watch, that kind of thing?
I mean, I wouldn't say I modeled my game after anybody, but I really like Aaron Rodgers, but I don't think I really play like Aaron Rodgers, but he's probably my favorite quarterback. I'm sad that he's gone now, but that's okay.
What do you like watching about him? Like what about him attracts you to watch his game?
Well, I've always been a Packers fan, so that definitely plays into it. But I just think he's probably the most accurate, or one of the most accurate quarterbacks to ever play the game. And he just flicks the ball. I don't really get it, but it's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Are the Jets a Super Bowl contender this year, like everybody says?
I don't know. I hope he has a good year, but hopefully the Packers are contenders. But it's not looking like it too much. But that's okay.
So, Coach, what do you want this week to look like? I mean, like you said, you don't want a win over Homewood or an appearance on a podcast to be the highlight. So what does this week have to look like? And even, as you know, like, there's going to be valleys to this season, just like there are any other. So what do you want to see from this team? Even if, the next few weeks don't go exactly as you want, there's still time to have those moments of success. So just kind of tell me what you want to see from these guys as you move forward.
One word that we've been preaching over the past couple of weeks is consistency, and they've taken that approach. And that's what we're looking for this week as well. Just the consistent energy and effort at practice, the consistent energy and effort at morning workouts, the energy and effort when it comes to film and whatever we may be doing. Consistency. And another theme that we kind of had coming into this season was every decision that you make is going to be either a football decision or not. And it is black and white. If you come to me on Monday afternoon and you say, "Oh, Coach, I got to do homework. It's due tonight or due tomorrow or whatever," first question is going to be, "What'd you do Saturday night?" "Oh, I hung out with my buddies." Okay, well, hanging out with your buddies was now not a football decision directly, and you're now directly affecting this team. And this team has embraced that, and they've really put football at the forefront of their minds, and they've been consistency with their attitude, their work ethic, and so that's what we're looking for coming into this week. And yesterday had a wrench thrown in the plans with lightning coming in at 10 minutes into practice, so and it kind of just settled in on us and just started pouring, and so we thought normally that's a wasted day. They were eager to get in the film room. They were eager to have a walkthrough. We pulled up Marbury's film, and half of them had already seen the whole film, and they were telling me what play was coming next. So the consistency, the adaptability thing, like you said, that things aren't always going to go our way, and just being able to bounce back from that and to keep that positive attitude and to keep moving forward. And I think we saw a big improvement in that last Friday night, and especially from CJ Wyatt. So he's played D end for us. He's been a 4-year starter. Well, this year he's kind of stepped in at tight end as well, kind of going both ways. And late in the game, he had a chance to put the game away. We ran a pass route, and he had one that he kind of tipped around and dropped on 3rd and 8, would have given us a first down and kind of would have been able to seal it. I think we were up by 2 possessions at that time, had to punt, and then they scored within 2 plays. And then so he came to the sideline, and instead of kind of being down on himself, which I mean he's grown up a lot, he said, I'm gonna make up for it. And so he went on defense and ended up getting the game sealing interception at defensive end. And just the attitudes, the intensity, the effort, we call it the uncommon commitment as well. Like you've got to come out here with a purpose. Everything you do has to be with a purpose. We can't just walk through stretch lines. You can't do it halfway and then expect to get anything out of it. So the energy is really kind of what stood out to me last week during the pregame warm up. I mean, they came out. It was one big team. It was unified, and I mean we hadn't seen that yet, and it just felt different. So I'd say consistency when it comes to the energy, the effort, and the commitment.
Now, Carson, last thing for me, just kind of give me your mindset. You know, what would it mean for you to be able to help lead this team to a really successful season?
I mean, it would be pretty awesome. I've been in this program. He coached me 7th, 8th grade year, and then I came up 9th grade year. He was in high school, and to see it all come together would be pretty special. I mean, we've all put in a ton of work towards it, and to see it pay off would just be great. So we just can't get complacent, and I don't want to have to worry about that. I don't think I will have to worry about that because I think everybody really wants it really bad. So just got to go 1 week at a time.
Sweet. Gary, you got anything else for these guys?
What's your best golf score?
I'm not very good at golf, but I my best score that I've had is a 77, and that was pretty good for me.
Yeah,
but I'm not.
That's pretty good.
His definition of not very good.
Well,
yeah.
No kidding.
Definitely not a top level high school golfer. I'll put it that way. I'm a better baseball player than golfer. I just enjoy golf. So yes.
I would enjoy it too if I was shooting 77. So yeah.
Well, that's not consistent.
Carson has this odd ability to pick up, and this year, and I'm gonna give him a lot of credit. Last year, he's grown up a ton, and not that he was immature, but he has the ability that not a lot of people have, and that's to be able to flip it on at game time. And I mean, he naturally has a lot of ability, but to be able to kind of flip that competitive switch when on a Friday night at 7:00, he's got that ability, and not many people possess that. So it was frustrating at times last year during practice or whatever, because he may be talking about, well, Aaron Rodgers does this and Aaron Rodgers does that. It's like, well, we're not trying to be Aaron Rodgers here. We're trying to be Carson McFadden. And this year he is completely he's taking control. Like I said, the whole senior class has taken some sort of leadership role, and the younger guys have fallen in, but Carson has really kind of been at the point of contact for every bit of that. And so I got to give him a lot of credit. I mean, the practices run smoother, the game days run smooth, just everything, morning workout, every bit of it, because Carson has stepped up as not only a leader by actions, but also verbal. And when he speaks, the team, I mean, it's quiet. And it normally gets stuff done. So we've been able to give this senior group a lot of autonomy and a lot of decision-making abilities. I mean, they're in charge if somebody misses practice, what is the discipline? What's the accountability for that? And they're in charge of that, and not on an individual basis. We came up with that day one. Without anybody specific missing practice, it's what are we going to do? And y'all own this. Y'all are in charge of this. So when it happens, y'all are in charge of holding everybody accountable. And if y'all can't handle it, then that's when we'll step in. So very proud of them, very proud of Carson and this senior class, and excited to see them keep working.
Good stuff. Well,
and I will say, the podcast is definitely a highlight. So we do appreciate that.
Yeah, no, we do hope it is a highlight of the season, but definitely not at the top of the list.
Yes,
definitely,
absolutely.
Definitely. Well, guys,
and hopefully do things big enough to where it wouldn't be the last time to warrant an invite to any podcast. So
there you go. Perfect.
yeah.
Yeah, well, guys, we really appreciate you coming on today. Been a lot of fun catching up with the Cavs. John Carroll is at home this Friday against Marbury before starting region play here in a couple of weeks. Guys, good luck the rest of the way. We look forward to keeping up with you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, and thank you for everything that you do for high school sports, not just football, but both of you. Follow you both on Twitter, and y'all do an absolutely amazing job getting pub out there and just promoting all sports athletes. It's amazing, and just thank y'all so much.
All right, Gary, let's get ready for week 2 of the high school action. We've got one Thursday game, a bunch on Friday that we'll be paying attention to. We'll start with this Thursday night game, Mountain Brook, making a trip to James Clemens. The Spartans are going to try to get some positive momentum going here against the James Clemens team that they had a close win over Gardendale last week to start the season off. But I feel like this is a game the Spartans are going to feel like this is going to be a test for them to see how much they've improved, how well they can bounce back against the 7A team. You know, they're scheduling 7As in this non-region. They don't mess around. So this is a good opportunity for Mountain Brook to get on the right side of things.
It is, and but you're going on the road. You're making a long trip, and you're playing a team that I know some of these James Clemens players probably remember 42-21 last year, taking that L to Mountain Brook. So, like you said, another just incredible test against a 7A opponent on the road. So, I think we'll learn a lot about Mountain Brook this week.
All right, Friday night games. You're going to Briarwood at Spain Park, right? Isn't that right?
If you want me to.
Okay. Well, yeah, we'll send Gary out to Briarwood Spain Park. Spain Park going to look to continue that momentum that they, got off to a great start last week. Briarwood looking to do the opposite, looking to rebound from a shutout and get things going. This is a rivalry that, with Spain Park struggling the last several years, has been a really fun game to watch. I can remember a few years ago, Briarwood was up for 3 quarters, and then Spain Park came back at the end. And then the last couple of years, it's been Briarwood. So I'm excited to see what this game looks like.
I am too, especially up front. Like seeing that Briarwood offensive line against Clay Chalkville. I mean, it doesn't exactly get easier going to Spain Park against that defensive front with Jared Smith and some other guys that they've got at a Spain Park team that over the last year since Tim Vakakis got hired, physically it's a different era over there at Spain Park. And so I'm really looking forward to that up front and seeing what kind of adjustments and improvements Briarwood makes. But I really want to see too from Spain Park if last week carries over. Like you mentioned, Calera and kind of a tumultuous off season. Briarwood's replaced guys, but if there's ever a steady program, it's Briarwood. So I'm very curious what that looks like from Spain Park because, as we mentioned in the last podcast, Spain Park was kind of my team to watch this year as a surprise type team. So I want to see if they are able to keep that foot on the gas. The Shanks brothers are very productive playmakers on the offense. Brock Bradley is a name that if you haven't heard it yet, you're going to, the quarterback for Spain Park. And just seeing how, on the other side, how the Lions respond after a 31-0 loss at home to a really, really good Clay Chalkville team. So I think there's a lot of intrigue on both sides in this game, and I'm really looking forward to just getting to stand there and watch it, to be honest.
Yeah, that'll be a lot of fun. Speaking of Calera, they're playing another one of our teams this week. Chelsea is going to host Calera. This is a game that Chelsea's got to have. We're expecting improvement in year 2 under Todd Cassidy for the Hornets. A lot of skill guys back. Got some key guys back on defense. And last week against Helena just wasn't what they were hoping for. So this game against Calera will be a good opportunity to find some success and feel good about things heading into region play.
Yeah, I think you hopefully if you're Chelsea, I think you probably get a big game from quarterback Carter Dotson, get a big game from running back Emerson Russell, and really set the tone as region play approaches.
Yeah, absolutely. Hewitt Trustful going to make a trip out to Gadsden City. This will be an opportunity for the Huskies to get back on track. You know, we've talked so much in the offseason about that offense, returning 9 starters this year. But we mentioned the lineman injury. And, you know, it's just this is going to be a good opportunity to get some good reps for some guys because they showed flashes against Central. They ran the ball relatively well. And when Peyton Floyd had time, he made some good throws. So he's got plenty. He's got a great stable of receivers. This ought to be an opportunity for the offense to get going, the defense to kind of hone in on what it's trying to do, and give the Huskies some feel good heading into Region 3.
Do you think Gadsden City is a little more? I mean, I know they're not exactly in our coverage area, but like I feel for some reason I feel a little bit of Lee Corso creeping into my mind here, like closer than the experts think. You know what I mean? Like I think Hewitt's obviously the better team, but I mean Gadsden City put up 37 last week. I don't know. You go into their place. It's a different kind of game. I'm not saying Hewitt's going to lose to Gadsden City, but would you be shocked if it was 41-34?
Yes, I would be shocked.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm not saying I would be or wouldn't be. I just it's some sort of creeping feeling that it could be closer than I would usually expect it to be.
Well, I'll use my Lee Corso pencil at you. At the opposite, not so fast. Huskies are going to win big. All right, rivalry game. I think I will be at this one, as a matter of fact. Homewood is going to make a trip to Vestavia Hills. This is always an entertaining rivalry game because Homewood doesn't win this game a lot, just simply because Vestavia is a bigger school, you know, more it's just a more depth program, all that kind of stuff. And last year's game, Vestavia took it to Homewood. Unfortunately for Homewood, Waldrop Stadium is still under construction. So this game is going back to Vestavia Hills for the second straight year. Based on what we saw last week, this is going to be a really tough matchup for Homewood. So many new guys on offense, and Vestavia's offense is rolling after a game already. So Homewood's got its work cut out for them to make this rivalry game anywhere close.
What's happening at Waldrop Stadium? What's the construction? Do you know?
Yeah, I mean it's a lot of the bleacher side, the home side, new
Okay.
ticket booth. They're just trying to redo a lot of the facing of that stadium, locker room type stuff. I don't think they're not going to be displaced all season. I don't think, but it's just simply not ready to host a football game at this time. So hopefully Homewood gets back there soon. But we'll
Yeah,
see what they can do at Vestavia this Friday night. It's going to be a tough matchup.
it's a fun helmet game, a fun rivalry game. But that is a tall task
Yeah.
for the Patriots.
I've seen some fun ones over the years in that one though. Two of the most entertaining. It's definitely the most entertaining 6-0 game I've ever seen. Watching Homewood beat Vestavia several years ago, so we'll be on the lookout for that one. Hoover hosting Oak Grove, but not the Oak Grove you think of in Jefferson County. This is the Oak Grove in Mississippi. That is one of the top programs in the state over there. So this has got a chance to be a pretty entertaining matchup. I really don't know much about Oak Grove X's and O's wise, given that the season's just started, but they are a perennially strong program in Mississippi. So Hoover is going to be looking to figure some things out after kind of, they took a tough one to Auburn last week, and they're going to be chomping at the bit to kind of show that wasn't who they are.
Yeah, I don't know anything about Oak Grove other than they beat Wayne County 49-0 this last
Yeah.
week. It's been a minute since I've lived in and covered high school football in Mississippi, so I'm not as well versed on teams in that state. But my gosh, you open with Auburn, and then you're getting one of the perennial powerhouse from Mississippi. So trial by fire here for a young Hoover team. You know, you hope that you get that running game going a little bit. It seems like against Auburn, maybe there were some untimely turnovers, interceptions, and you know that defense obviously isn't. No defense would be like that defense was last year. So you're just hoping to get guys experience and keep rounding into form. I'm a broken record as we approach that region play. So see what you can take from week one, see how it goes week two, and just keep building.
Yep. Another 7A team, Oak Mountain, is going to ride right down the road to take on Pelham. I think Oak Mountain's a better team here, but Pelham is by no means a slouch. They're fringe top 10 team in 6A. So good opportunity for Oak Mountain to start 2-0 if they play like they did last week.
Yeah, it seems like I don't know a ton about Pelham. I know that quarterback Clayton Maines is a pretty good playmaker back there. But like you said, I wonder if it's like a contrasting styles kind of thing. I mean, Oak Mountain just ran over Northridge. I mean, 300 some odd rushing yards. Pelham beat a Jackson Olin team, what I think 21-6 or something this last week. So maybe a clash of styles in a way. Maybe Pelham's going to try to slow it down, keep that Oak Mountain running game off the field. We'll see. Too early to give the game a true personality prediction at this point. But if the Shane McComb era can start 2-0, that would be a lot of rejuvenation for that community, and we like it when our teams are all playing well. So that would be cool to see if they can go in there and get that W.
Yeah, and definitely shout out to Shane McComb. Not only they played their jamboree game against Bob Jones a couple weeks ago. The guy has to leave his first game action as Oak Mountain's head coach to go be with his wife, who has their child. So congratulations to both of them on a healthy baby. And look,
Was it a boy or a girl?
It was a girl, Penelope. So
Penelope.
great for
I like
them.
that.
And
I was
then
gonna say, if it would have been a boy, could have just named it Bob Jones. It would have been great.
yeah. Well, they did not do well against Bob Jones that night while he was gone, but good for them to rebound and play as well as they did against
Yeah.
Northridge. So we'll see if they keep that going. Another team interested to see if they can keep it going. John Carroll. We just talked to head coach and quarterback, and they got to sustain this momentum against Marbury somehow. This game against Marbury last year was super entertaining, back and forth. And I think it was a couple of 2-point conversions that ended up making the difference in the game, and Marbury came back and won the game late. So hey, the Cavs can start 2-0. That would be a big deal for them.
I think we might. I'm not saying you'll see another classic like that last year, but I think you're going to see a lot of points. I mean, Carson McFadden is the real deal dual threat guy for John Carroll. And Marbury just this last week lost their opener to Elmore County, gave up 56 points. So they're coming to John Carroll. So I think we might see a bit of a shootout.
Yeah. And then finally, Clay Chalkville pays a visit to Hueytown. This was the 6A state championship matchup a couple of years ago, but Hueytown is not quite on that same level. Clay Chalkville trying to show that they're still at that level. And this is round 2 of the Cougar Road Show this year. They play, 2 home games? So just get used to them playing on the road.
Yeah, we'll see how much improvement there is on that offense, and what else they might do. How much time Jalen Mbakwe stays at quarterback. I guess their last drive or so, Kamari McClellan came in this last week against Briarwood, and mostly it was handoffs, that kind of thing, just running the clock. But he made one throw, it ended up incomplete. But from where I was standing, it looked pretty well placed. It looked like a pretty good throw down the sideline. So we'll see if he gets some more time and just see how much more experience some of these guys get as, like you said, as this road show rolls on. They only host the Valleys this year, so they're going to be on the road a lot.
Well, that's all we got from week 2. Gary, I'm looking forward to being back out on the sideline in a little bit more pleasant temperature. It's a fun time of year, man. High school football is rolling. College football gets started in earnest this week. The NFL starts next week. The Braves are not bad. So a lot of cool stuff going on. We'll see if all of that can keep pulling in the right direction. But yeah, episode 20 of
especially the Braves. We
Especially.
want the Braves to keep rolling in the right direction.
Yeah, no doubt. So catch Gary and myself on a sideline near you this Friday. Be sure to follow us on Twitter, on Facebook, everywhere. Be sure to keep up with all the action. If you haven't subscribed to our Under the Lights newsletter that comes out every Saturday morning, please do that as well. So yeah, that'll do it for this one. We will see you next week.